I know it's been a long day and maybe some of you are tired and sleepy, so hopefully I can be entertaining enough that nobody falls asleep during this session. I've been selling myself since 2015 on Amazon, and I have exited multiple brands. I've had some brands fail. I've also worked with hundreds of brands and also service providers and Amazon as a consultant. And I've had very many conversations over the past 2 or 3 years about this topic, which is influencer marketing. And influencer marketing is a very, very large topic. There's almost too much to even begin to understand what influencer marketing is. But hopefully today, I can give you some information that's relevant to you, that is helpful to you. And I feel like if I can give you one idea or one tip or one small piece of direction, then I've succeeded, and coming all the way to Korea was worth my time. And hopefully worth your time in coming here today too. So this topic is important for many reasons. One is because selling on Amazon is becoming more competitive. You have more competition with more advanced marketing strategies that might be hurting your sales. And you need to understand how to use external marketing in a collaboration with internal marketing. There's also a huge advantage for Korean brands. We know the news going on from several Asian countries, one in particular. And the truth is, many of the world's products are going to be made in Asia for a long time. But US consumers are looking to other countries of origin, even if it's just the brand ownership in Asia, to start buying their products. And Korea is the one that all US consumers are talking about. We're talking a lot today about the beauty category, but I know many of you don't just sell beauty products. So what I'm going to share is relevant to everybody, but we're going to say just for the majority of the audience in here, we'll talk about the beauty brands. It's very popular in the US. So if you can get your influencer strategies right, there's a huge advantage, and it's definitely worth your time doing. We also know that there are so many sales and so many brand building techniques that happen on social platforms, and you need to be able to understand how to use those in cooperation with the Amazon platform. And we know that all of these strategies have to work together. They cannot work independently anymore. Also, let me say, I have too much information to share in my time allotted, in the time that I've been given. So at the end of my presentation, I have a QR code that you can give me your email address, and I'll send you all of the slides, plus a lot more information. So if I go through some of these slides quickly, I'll still give you access to the information. So when people talk about influencer marketing, they're typically talking about people creating videos on social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. But I would challenge you to think about influential traffic sources, not just influencers. When I talk to some of the largest successful influential traffic platforms in the Amazon world, there is more traffic and more sales being generated from Google, that's search and ads, from review sites, from publications, from news agencies, than there are actually social media. So when I speak about influencers, just understand that there are a lot of sources of influential traffic, some I have listed here. A lot of you in this room or listening online have probably had some frustration with influencer marketing. And a lot of this is because it's a very complex subject, and maybe some of the information that you've read or some of the things that you found online or some of the advice you've been given wasn't very tactical, and it wasn't thinking about the big strategy. There, for a long time, has been a problem with attribution, being able to understand if the money that you're investing in traffic is actually bringing sales. There's been a misunderstanding of the purpose of influencer traffic. Is it direct sales, which is bottom of the funnel, or is it brand building? And all of those are important, but there's been a misunderstanding. There's been a limited ability to take one influencer campaign and use it for multiple campaigns, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. And Amazon, for a long time, did not give us the information specifically on the platform for external traffic, which has changed. They spent a lot of money and they spent a lot of time and they worked with a lot of people to develop the programs that Amazon has now. The main one is Amazon Attribution. If you're not familiar with it, you need to become familiar with it because this completely changed our ability to do external marketing successfully. The brand referral bonus in the US market is huge. 10% back. 10% back. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Also, there are a lot of native influencer tools and UGC creation tools that are now focusing on supporting Amazon sellers specifically. And Amazon is now collaborating with a lot of third-party platforms which have creators and the tools that creators need to create content for Amazon sellers. And this has only happened in about the last 2 years. And most sellers are not familiar with any of this, which gives us a unique opportunity because you're here learning today. The challenge that I'm going to make today is not to just use one resource, but build a system of multiple resources. If you can use one resource partnered with another resource, this creates what I call a force multiplier, or I'm going to show you in a moment, a flywheel. And there are so many sellers that I speak to that try one tactic or one platform or one strategy and become frustrated that there wasn't a huge impact to their business. But what I'm going to show you today are maybe some ideas of how you can use one campaign or one platform or one action to support and feed and supply power to other campaigns and other platform uses and other marketing campaigns. If you're not familiar with what a flywheel is, I don't know how that translates to Korean, but this is what made Amazon powerful. This was a philosophy that Jeff Bezos created, which was that if you start adding certain elements, those elements start feeding the other elements and it starts spinning into a flywheel. The Amazon flywheel was things like a large product catalog. Well, if you had a lot of products on the Amazon marketplace, you'd have more buyers. And if you had more buyers, you could get more sellers. And if you had more sellers, you'd have more competition, which would lower the price, which would bring more buyers, which would bring more sellers. Well, it works with marketing, especially external marketing as well. If you're using a traffic from one source that maybe goes to Amazon and doesn't convert, okay, you have one influencer campaign that sends traffic through a link to your Amazon listing, but it doesn't convert. Well, even if it does not convert to a sale, you can use that to create a separate DSP audience, which allows you to retarget. And one marketing campaign through an influencer that you own the content rights can then be used to retarget that audience through a video. And I'll show you some examples in a moment. But my point is, all of these different things that we, for so long, have thought were independent can create a flywheel that creates a massive marketing opportunity. So there's a lot of confusion. I think these are the three main reasons. One is because we are overloaded with information. There's too many platforms, there's too many opportunities, there's too many people giving us advice. And I can tell you that I do not work for an influencer marketing agency. I don't work for an influencer platform. I have no agenda. I'm just a seller, and I'm telling you this information. But I get confused also because there's so much information out there. There's also international challenges. If I wanted to create a brand and sell it in Korea, I could not succeed. I don't know the culture. I don't know how to create a brand here. And most of you are here in Korea trying to sell to the US. That's also difficult, right? It's not very easy, especially if you're not directly in that culture and in that area yourself. There's also a lot of segmentation that has to happen. If you're running multiple campaigns and you're creating a flywheel and you cannot segment and you cannot identify which pieces of that flywheel is impacting other pieces, then that creates a lot of confusion also. And many brands that are successful are not investing in influencer traffic to their full potential because they cannot segment which pieces are impacting other pieces, and the confusion causes them to just stop. When I speak to brands, especially in Asia, many of them say that they used or have used an influencer platform that's made for Amazon. They'll say, I've used, and I'm going to use some third-party service names. I've used Grin, and I've used Upfluence, and I've used Join Brands, and I've used Levanta, and I've used Wayward, and I've used Archer Affiliates. And they tell me that sometimes it works or sometimes it doesn't. I've even recently been at masterminds with Amazon influencers, people with millions of followers on TikTok. And we'll be in a conversation, and my friend Gracie will say, oh yeah, for that example, you need to use Join Brands, but not Billow. And then in the next conversation, she'll say, don't use Billow, use Join Brands. And I thought, well, this is very confusing. Which third-party platform do I use? So last summer, I started a mission to identify which platforms are good and which are bad. And what I discovered was that I did not understand the platforms. So after around 60 hours of meetings with influencers and platform creators and Amazon internal teams, I discovered that there are 3 main types of influencer platforms for Amazon sellers. And if you don't get any good information from my talk today, please listen to this. I'm going to break down the 3 main platform types. The first one is an affiliate-based platform. The second one is where you pay for content to be distributed. And the third one is a user-generated content platform. So the first type, it's an affiliate type. This is a platform where your brand can be matched to creators who will then promote your product for commission. This is fairly standard. This is essentially replacing a lot of my effort that used to go towards the Amazon Associates affiliate program and finding those affiliates. And I can create custom deals for them. Then they have tracking links that will go to my listing. And if that listing sells, then through this third-party platform, I sell them. And this allows me to do things like offer these affiliate sellers, let's just say I offer them 10% commission. Well, it goes through the Amazon attribution program with the 10% brand referral bonus. So if I offer 10% commission, then for every influencer that makes a sale, it's free for me. I pay them 10%, but Amazon gives me 10%. So typically what I'm doing is I'm paying or offering 20 to 25%, and I get 10% of that back. So I'm still paying less than a lot of other external marketing campaigns would cost me. There's a lot of great information on this, and I can share some case studies with you if you'll give me your email address at the end of this presentation. These are the 4 most common independent third-party platforms for Type 1. Levanta, Wayward, Refersion, and Aspire. And they all have some differences in them. And again, I'll let you have access to these slides and you can read all that. The second type is the more traditional type of influencer marketing platforms. This is the platform where you find an influencer that has their own audience, and you pay them to talk about your product or your brand to their audience. This is traditional influencer marketing. There's a lot of value here. There can also be a lot of frustration because many times we don't match the correct influencer with the correct audience to our product. So if we had an A-list celebrity like Kim Kardashian talk about our product, but if our product is not relevant to her audience, then it's a waste of money. And also for a long time, we weren't able to create a flywheel because we could not own that content. The most common platforms that Amazon sellers are using now, and the platforms that are focusing on serving Amazon sellers, are Upfluence, Grin, Affluencer, and the later Influence. And I've told you some frustrations. These are still great platforms to use if you use them correctly. But this is what most people are familiar with when we say influencer marketing. Type 3 is the user-generated content platforms, UGC. This is where I would find an influencer or a content creator, and I would hire them to make content about my product, and I would own the content. I would own that. So if I want to run Facebook ads or Instagram ads or YouTube ads, this is where you go find an actor and you own the content. They deliver it to you and then you can use it for what you want to. This does not mean that they have to have a very large audience because they might not share it to their audience. You're using it for your own custom audience, but they're the creators. The 3 most common in the Amazon world are Join Brands, Incense, and Billow. Here's a comparison table. You can take a picture of that, or I'll send you the slides, like I said, afterwards. I need to move quickly because I have a lot to go over. So I'm briefly going to discuss some of the Amazon-specific programs that are relevant to influencer marketing, okay? The first one that we talked about a little bit before was the Amazon Attribution Program. It tracks the clicks, it tracks the views, it tracks the purchases. What's really cool about Amazon Attribution now is it is now connected to other marketing programs. I'll discuss that in just a second. But it also works with Meta, with Google, with email, with YouTube. Anywhere that a link can go, this works. The only place that it's not working very well right now is TikTok, because TikTok does not want you sending your traffic to Amazon. They want them to send it to TikTok Shop. But everywhere else it seems to be working, and the TikTok thing may start working very soon with some upcoming announcements, we hope. This is required for the brand referral bonus, that 10%. And that 10% is powerful. What I have seen many times in the past 2 years is that you can get your cost of conversion below 10%, and this creates a scenario that I call infinite ROAS. This means that if I sell a $50 product and Amazon pays me $5 because it came through the attribution program and I'm eligible for this brand referral bonus. So I sell a $50 product, Amazon gives me $5. If my cost to sell that product was less than $5, I actually made more money than Amazon paid me more than it cost me. So I'm making more money because Amazon's giving me money on the 10%. Does that make sense? So if you can create a flywheel and reduce your cost of sales, your total advertising cost, we see this happen pretty effectively and pretty often, especially with products over around $40 or $50. We see it really often with Google ads, because if you're selling a $50 or $60 product and you can get your Google cost per acquisition below that 10%, it's free advertising, it's free sales essentially. Amazon created their influencer program. This is their own internal one. There's a lot of information. You can ask any of the Amazon staff here about it. There's a lot of information in Seller University that you can see. But the creators can create their own storefronts. They can create their own links, which are brand referral bonus enabled and attribution program enabled. So if you're using another third-party platform to match with them, these creators, especially on the Type 1 platform, they can also post your links internally within Amazon, which is cool. There's Amazon Live and shoppable videos, which many of you are familiar with. I won't go too deeply into that. AMC, Amazon Marketing Cloud, it's been talked about a lot today. This is important in influencer marketing because if you can start tracking all of these different traffic sources, because the attribution program now connects to AMC, then you can start segmenting these campaigns, which I told you was a struggle in the past. And then DSP. DSP is extremely valuable. Amazon DSP has become the most valuable marketing platform in the world, in my opinion. It has more advertising potential and more what I call real estate, more property on the internet than any other, even more so than Google DSP now. So why is this important? Because all of these can be connected. Now, I can't give you a specific guide right now for every one of your brands, but I told you that my hope today was to give you some ideas. So here's an idea, for example. When we used to use, let's say, a Grin or an Upfluence to have somebody create a campaign for us, well, now that Amazon has connected all of these platforms, even if a Kim Kardashian posts your link or a link to your product, and 1 million people come to your listings, but they don't purchase, now, because DSP and AMC are combined with all of this, even if I have 1 million people come to my product listing and don't buy, don't purchase, which isn't good for your conversion rate, I can now create a segmented and unique audience that's mine. It's my audience. I can own that audience. And now I can retarget them through DSP. I can use Billo and Join Brands to get a very inexpensive $100 video that I can retarget. If I have affiliates from the Type 1 platforms that put their link to their audience and I get a lot of traffic to that audience, I'm now creating a unique audience that I own. So my point is, when you understand how these different platforms work, and some of them are very simple, like Wayward, it's very, very simple to use because you just post your product for creators to find, and then if they want to sell it and they want to get commission, it can be extremely low cost to you, sometimes as little as free. But it is impacting your ability to create these other marketing platforms with all the interconnection. There are some common mistakes. I'll go through these quickly. Use your attribution links. If you're not using Amazon's attribution links, you can't connect these programs and you cannot get the brand referral bonus. Make sure that you're only paying influencers for being successful. Make sure that you're only using influencers with the correct audience for your product. And this often means smaller influencers. You don't have to use huge, giant influencer names because they cost a lot of money. We're finding more success with the micro and nano influencers, the very small influencers with very hyper-focused and specific audiences for our product. Don't focus on one single platform. Don't only focus on DSP. Don't only focus on Amazon Live. Don't only focus on influencer marketing. Make sure that you're doing everything in a way that can be connected because that increases the value. And also make sure that any content that is created for your brand or your product, you can reuse. That's why I love that Type 3 platform, the UGC creator platform, because I can own it and use it on my website, on my social media, on my ads. I can even give that content to other Type 1 affiliates because a lot of those Type 1 affiliates on a platform like Wayward, they might not be content creators, but they might be excellent Google Ads specialists. And they know how to run a YouTube ad, which is part of the Google Ads platform, but they just need the content. So I can give them the content from a creator on the Type 3 platform to use for a Google Ads expert on the Type 1 platform. This is a list just specifically for beauty brands of the top types of content that are being created. Most of you know this, but you can take a picture of this or go back and read this slide because I am out of time. I want to show you a real-life example. If anybody here is from the brand She Knows, I'd love to talk to you because I love this case study that you've done with Wayward. Some incredible results in just 6 months. And this is from one influencer type platform that was very, very low cost to them because they used a brand referral bonus and they used influencers as opposed to just content creators that had no accountability. Really, really cool stuff here. And if you look at some of their largest success, it wasn't just through TikTok videos or Facebook videos or Instagram videos. It was through publications and news websites and review websites. I'm completely out of time, so I've got to skip this. But, like I said, I'll give you the slides. So checklist for every campaign. Go through, this is kind of a recap of some of the stuff that I've given you already. But if any of you have any questions, then I'm going to be able to share that with you. So final thoughts, marketing is now engineering. Remember that marketing is not just marketing. It's creating systems and creating opportunities that are all interconnected because we have all the tools and resources now that we've never had before. So if you want the slides, scan this QR code. I'm not going to sell you anything. I have nothing to sell you. But I'm also going to give you some extra things because a lot of my friends back in the States knew that I was coming to Korea, and they've given me case study, they've given me tips, they've given me slides. When I first presented my presentation to the Amazon ads team, I think I had 75 slides, and I narrowed it down to about 40, so I have a lot more I can send you. Also, I have a good friend, Gracie Ryback, who is one of the top Amazon influencers, and she specializes in beauty brands and wellness brands on Amazon. And I had about a 2-hour conversation with her, and she promised to send me a white paper, which she and I have developed, that are some tips and tricks specifically for working with Amazon influencers, and we promised to share that too. So a lot of resources at this QR code, and I'll send that information to your email within the next 1 or 2 days. So thank you all for allowing me to come and present to you today. It's my first time in Korea, and I've been very warmly welcomed by the Amazon team as well as by everyone here at this conference, and I appreciate that. And I hope that you've learned something today that's going to impact your business, and I promise you I've learned something today that's going to impact my business, so I appreciate that. Thank you all.